Joe and Mika Brzezinski Scarborough, who famously warned of the growing threat of Trump's fascism, also had an interesting announcement to make.
As many of you are aware, the news has been pretty bleak recently, in the past 200-300 years. Listen, but this weekend, there was one story that was so disturbing, so dark, even the news couldn't handle it.
Comedian Jon Stewart just served Joe Scarborough and his ever-serious wife, Mika Brzezinski, a rhetorical smackdown, and the internet can't get enough. Stewart dared to call out the power couple's latest behavior for not quite matching their trademark moral high ground. And let's face it, that kind of in-house media critique is about as rare as Bigfoot in a blazer. Still, it's classic Stewart. No tribe is too sacred, no network too smug, especially when it's dripping in that signature MSNBC sanctimony. Watching him slice through the pretense, regardless of political color, red, blue, or smug beige, is part of what's kept him relevant. The man's a veteran at calling BS wherever it festers. Bottom line, there's media drama brewing, and Stewart just turned up the heat. Grab popcorn. This one's wild.
And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
Because you said he was.
You can't spend years branding someone a menace, a tyrant, a fascist-like version of Hitler, then sprint to the White House like it's a VIP Netflix gala the moment your name lands on the guest list. Seriously, pick a lane. No one saying Trump's loudest critics should never talk to him. Constructive dialogue? Sure, if it's genuine. But there's a massive difference between principled resistance and running a non-stop scorched earth campaign, only to suddenly play nice when the cameras are off. You can't sound the democracy alarm on MSNBC all day, then show up for small talk like he's your quirky uncle with spicy opinions. And yet, that's been Joe and Mika's greatest hit. Outrage on air, access off camera. It's less journalism, more dinner theater with press passes. That's exactly why Jon Stewart stepped in. He's allergic to hypocrisy. Doesn't matter who's dishing it out. If you're going to preach integrity, at least stick to the script when the spotlight shifts.
We don't know what the visit was. We don't know what the tone of the visit was.
We talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents.
Oh, I bet you really laid down the gauntlet, Joe. I bet you walked in there and just let him have it, didn't you, Joey? Mr. President, your rhetoric is outrageous. I cannot in good conscience... Ooh, are those macaroons? The pink one is raspberry.
Like Jon Stewart. I can only imagine the electric dialogue Joe and Mika Scarborough shared during their cozy White House visit. Did they lock eyes with Trump and boldly declare, "You're a fascist"? Did they drop historical comparisons between bites of filet and sips of presidential Pinot? Or were they too dazzled by the chandeliers and fine china to channel their usual MSNBC fire? Because here's the thing. It's easy to play resistance warrior from behind a studio desk, where your fiercest opponent is a stubborn teleprompter. But it's a different game entirely when you're face-to-face with the man you've likened to history's darkest villains. That blazing outrage? It cools fast, replaced by polite smiles and stage selfies. That's not journalism. It's Broadway with buffet. And this isn't Jon Stewart's first rodeo. Just a few months ago, he torched MSNBC for their Trump fixation, pointing out the double standards. Hypocrisy like this? He's made a career out of calling it exactly what it is.
As many of you are aware, the news has been pretty bleak recently, in the past 200-300 years. Listen, but this weekend, there was one story that was so disturbing, so dark, even the news couldn't handle it.
We're not going to show because of how disturbing it is.
I was extremely disturbed to see this.
Horrible, horrible, violent imagery.
Violent and dehumanizing imagery.
We're only going to show you a clip of this briefly.
All right, that's enough. Let's take it down.
The ominous music, the grave expressions. MSNBC sets the stage like the nation spiraling into chaos, or we're witnessing the opening scene of some political apocalypse. But then, nothing. Just another overhyped segment. Dripping with drama and light on substance. It's classic MSNBC. Inflate even Trump's most mundane actions into headline gold and moral posturing. A routine moment becomes a supposed national emergency, all to squeeze out more clicks and clout. They'll slap a catastrophe label on a shrug-worthy event and sell it like it's the collapse of democracy. This isn't journalism, it's theater. And honestly, not even good theater. More soap opera than Spotlight.
I can't imagine how devastating this footage must be.
Former President Donald Trump shared a video, this one, on his Truth Social account featuring an image of President Joe Biden hogtied on the back of a pickup truck.
And that's exactly what grinds Jon Stewart's gears. The nonstop exaggeration, the breathless sensationalism, all delivered with the gravitas of a national emergency, as if any of this is shocking or without precedent. The media clutches its pearls like civilization is teetering, conveniently forgetting the chaos they once applauded. Remember 2017? Comedian Kathy Griffin posed with a fake severed Trump head, grotesque, tasteless, macabre. MSNBC? Crickets. Barely a whiff of the moral panic we're drowning in now. Fast forward to today. Trump shares a satirical video of Biden tied to the back of a pickup, and suddenly it's DEFCON 1. Emergency panels form, voices drop to that hushed, serious tone, and anchors act like the Constitution just combusted. This isn't journalism. It's outrage theater, stuck on repeat. And Stewart, like many of us, is tired of watching the same tired script play out. He's calling it what it is: performative, selective, and exhausting.
Aren't you the same networks that show reruns of 9/11 every year? I mean, I don't think it's great that Trump is posting things like this, but it's not like people really think Joe Biden was tied up in the back of the truck.
Jon Stewart keeps peeling back the layers of MSNBC's hypocrisy, this time taking aim at their wildly selective sense of decorum. He highlighted how the network has no issue broadcasting endless loops of 9/11 footage, live coverage of gruesome accidents, natural disasters, and gut-wrenching tragedies. Graphic? Absolutely. Traumatizing? Without question. But if it fits the narrative or boosts ratings, it gets greenlit without a second thought. Then along comes a Trump video. Clearly exaggerated, cartoonishly absurd, and suddenly it's too much for viewers to handle? Now they draw the line? Please. Refusing to air the clip under the guise of protecting public sensibilities isn't some noble ethical stand. It's performative censorship. MSNBC isn't shielding the public. They're shielding their storyline. Because let's be real, when real horror supports their message, they'll air it in HD. But when satire threatens to poke holes in their narrative, blackout, the hypocrisy so glaring, even Bill Maher couldn't resist calling it out.
There is no doubt.
There's no misinformation.
There's some disinformation from the left, but comparing it to what Donald Trump spews out every day, every week, comparing it to what Elon Musk is spewing out, unfortunately, on X, you sound like Brett Stevens now, with all due respect. It's a joke. That's a real time.
And you sound like him, who looks like Rachel Maddow.
You understand what I'm saying?
I've never argued with that. I've never argued of a false equivalency. I just said there is misinformation from both sides. No, I lived through COVID. Don't tell me there wasn't misinformation.
Here's Joe Scarborough, stone-faced as ever, confidently claiming that misinformation from the left isn't nearly as harmful as what comes from the right. Bold take. Joe. Laughable on a good day, downright hypocritical on a bad one. Let's rewind, shall we? Remember the COVID chaos? From shifting narratives about the virus's origin to ever-changing data and a relentless fear campaign, the left wasn't exactly a beacon of clarity. Faulty tests, inflated hospitalization numbers, and that infamous just 14 days to slow the spread somehow stretched into months of lockdowns. It was mass manipulation, and it worked. Fear took the wheel. Confusion flooded in, and people followed blindly, while networks like MSNBC amplified every overblown headline like it was divine truth. But now, we're supposed to believe only the right manipulates facts? Please. Scarborough's moral high ground is built on quicksand. And just when you think the double standards couldn't get more absurd, along comes another MSNBC pundit with a fresh batch of nonsense. Cue Bill Maher, stepping in to slice through the spin.
2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, And they set Kamala Harris up to fail. It was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No.
Bill Maher, in classic Maher fashion, cuts through the spin and delivers the uncomfortable truth. No, Kamala Harris didn't lose because she only had 3 months to campaign. Let's not kid ourselves. She was the sitting vice president of the United States, the second most powerful position in the country, not some newcomer trying to break into the scene. She didn't lose because she's a woman or because voters weren't ready. She lost because people saw through the polished exterior and recognized it for what it was: fake. Kamala became known for giving eloquent sounding speeches that, when unpacked, said absolutely nothing. Word salads dressed up as wisdom. She mastered the art of talking in circles, immaculately vague, carefully rehearsed. In the end, voters didn't connect with her because there was nothing authentic there to connect with. The presentation was there, the substance wasn't.
You know what would be good at MSNBC is if you actually did think about both sides and weighed the arguments and made constructive arguments against that side while respecting them. You don't do that. It's propaganda all the time.
What you just said,
and by denying any...
What you just said just described my show. It's like I had a Trump lawyer on this week. I've had Steve Bannon on my show. I've had Trump White House officials.
I watch MSNBC.
Right, so you describing a goal that I'm achieving, I take that as a...
MSNBC these days feels less like a news network and more like a primetime propaganda machine. It's all narrative, no nuance. Their version of journalism isn't about informing the public. It's about reinforcing an ideology. The coverage leans so far left it's practically horizontal, with programming seemingly tailored to demonize anything even slightly conservative. Facts take a backseat while emotional outrage takes center stage. They don't report news. They dramatize it. Cue the intense music, grave expressions, and smug moralizing. Viewers aren't getting informed. They're being conditioned to absorb whatever storyline keeps MSNBC's agenda intact. And let's not forget their favorite tactic: selective reporting. Skip the inconvenient truths, amplify the sensational, and keep the echo chamber at full volume. It's not about accuracy, it's about allegiance. And if that's considered journalism now, then reality TV might as well be in the running for a Pulitzer.
Suspects, I'll call them, on the left in the media is just, again, not looking in the mirror. It did not.
Or loudly enough.
Or that just a lot of people texted me things like, well, you can't fix stupid. Sorry, that doesn't work with me. Yeah, you're stupid because you're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're not thinking about maybe we did something wrong. Maybe we're not perfect.
In the end, Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, and Cold Hard Reality have all peeled back the curtain on what MSNBC and hosts like Joe Scarborough have truly become: actors in a partisan production. Stewart calls out the hypocrisy, Maher dismantles the excuses, and Scarborough clings to a moral high ground that simply doesn't exist. MSNBC thrives on outrage, distortion, and a steady dose of double standards, dressing up opinions as facts while vilifying anyone outside their ideological bubble. They preach about speaking truth to power, but flinch the moment that truth turns inconvenient. From COVID spin to Kamala's collapse to the endless Trump hysteria, it's all just recycled drama from the same tired script. Thankfully, voices like Stewart and Maher remind us that truth doesn't wear a party badge. It just takes courage to speak it. And with that, we'll drop the curtain on today's episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.